Mel Kiper Jr. has released his 2023 big board. Here are his top three. The top is Alabama edge rusher Will Anderson Jr. His 17.5 sacks led FBS last season and were 3.5 more than Aiden Hutchinson, by the way. Second is his Alabama teammate, Heisman winner Bryce Young. His 87.6 total QBR and his 47 TD passes were both second in the FBS last season. Behind him is the only player Young trailed in QBR, Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud. Over the final 9 games last season, Stroud threw 36 touchdowns and just 3 picks. And I am joined by the man himself, Mel Kiper. Mel, we just saw a draft full of very talented defensive linemen, including the #1 overall pick, Trayvon Walker. Would Will Anderson have been the top pick in this past draft if he was eligible?
Yes, Max, definitive yes. He's a finisher. And the sack potential that Trayvon Walker may have was sack production with Will Anderson Jr. and a complete player, Max. 34.5 tackles for a loss. He was tremendously impactful against the run. His character is off the charts. When you put it all together, he's clearly the #1 player in the draft. Will he be the #1 pick overall? That remains to be seen. If the team's picking #1 needs a quarterback, you got some big timers up there at the top, and you would take the quarterback. But just ability, player, rankings, you're going to be hard pressed to find anybody that goes ahead of Will Anderson Jr. come late April of 2023.
Speaking of those quarterbacks, Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud are the two that many believe will be the top 2 picks in next year's draft, some quarterback-needy teams. Why do you have the smaller Young ahead of the more regular NFL quarterback-sized Stroud?
It's really a toss-up, Max. It's one and one. I had to put somebody there. I went with Young. They're equal going into the season in terms of grade. They're right where they need to be. C.J. Stroud, bigger, more physically imposing at 6'3", 225 as opposed to, or say 215 to 220, as opposed to Bryce Young at maybe 5'11", 6 feet, 195. But the way Stroud, as you talked about, Max, finished the season, he was on fire really the last 9 games. He was phenomenal. Jackson Smith-Njigba's got a great target, but he loses Garrett Wilson and he loses Chris Olave. Now, Bryce Young loses Jamison Williams and John Mechie III. He didn't have Mechie III, remember, hurt in the Georgia SEC title game. Jamison Williams hurt second quarter national championship game. Now, Jermaine Burton goes Georgia to Alabama, wide receiver. Tyler Harrell goes Louisville to Alabama. Jahmyr Gibbs goes Georgia Tech to Alabama, running back. Now you got an explosive, dynamic running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. Now you got a take the top off of defense receiver in Harrell, who could maybe make up for Jamison Williams' loss, and Jermaine Burton's an outstanding player. So those new elements will really help Bryce Young kind of make up for what he lost in terms of Jamison Williams and John Mechie III and Brian Robinson Jr., their fine running back.
I like Stroud a lot. Bryce Young, there's a lot to like, but are you concerned at all with his size, Mel? He's really he looks like a slightly built, not just short, but, not like Russell Wilson type. Are you concerned by his size?
The league protects quarterbacks, Max, and he's smart. He doesn't run because he doesn't have to, okay? When he needed to run, he could beat you with his legs, and he will beat you with his legs in the NFL, but just play smart. And that's all you got to do. Slide down, get out of bounds, protect that frame. He's the point guard. You talk about a tremendously quick release. You think about the way he sees the field, Max, his decision-making. He had the bad interception against Georgia, but as I said, he didn't have Mechie III, hurt in the SEC title game. Then Jamison Williams in the second quarter goes down, and I'm convinced if Jamison Williams plays that entire game, they beat Georgia. But hey, he didn't, and Georgia wins. Give him credit. But now you got Burton, you got Harrell, you got Gibbs coming in to help Bryce Young. And if that happens, and Smith-Njigba is a great player, but no Garrett Wilson, no Olave, but they got a lot of great young receivers there at Ohio State, and Henderson in the backfield. Paris Johnson Jr. moves from guard to left tackle at Ohio State. All these players, these great players, are around the quarterback. It's going to be fun to see, Max. Really entertaining to see who ends up winning that battle between Young and Stroud when we get to late April of 2023.
So you have 3 other quarterbacks in your top 25. Tyler Van Dyke from Miami, Anthony Richardson from Florida, and Will Levis from Kentucky. Which of those 3 is most likely to join Young and Stroud at the top of the draft?
I wish I had a crystal ball for that one, Max. They're all really good. Van Dyke is that guy with the size, the arm strength, can make all the throws. Richardson has that dual threat ability, and Levis can spin it, and he's mobile. He had 9 rushing touchdowns. He's got to cut down, Levis does, on the interceptions through 13. Only had 3 games, Levis did, where he didn't throw an interception, but the talent's there. But if I had to answer your question, Max, with one of those 3 moving up and ascending, it would be Anthony Richardson at Florida. Now he's the man, and the talent is in abundance. We know he's a tremendous running threat. We saw that. The passing skills, if he can be consistent throwing the football, accurate, precise throwing the football, and he's made strides in that area based on what we saw in the spring. Anthony Richardson has enormous talent potential. So we'll see where he is. I don't know if he's going to have a great year. If he does, and he comes out, he's going to go high if he has a phenomenal year. If he just has a so-so year and his passing skills needs to improve, then he goes back to Florida and we see what happens in the next following year. But Anthony Richardson, like I say, it's going to be interesting to see how much progress he makes in terms of his passing skills this year.
You brought up Ohio State's Jackson Smith and Jigba, your top skill position player available. What makes him the top receiver next year, Mel?
Well, Max, I heard an interview, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba. And they asked Olave and Wilson, they both said, hey, he's the most talented of the group here. And you think about Olave and Wilson, outstanding players, right? Well, he outproduced Olave and Wilson in terms of catches and in terms of average per catch. He averaged 17 yards a catch. Wilson was at 15, Olave was at 14. So he's a dynamic player. And I think when you have a guy like C.J. Stroud being able to make every throw imaginable and extend plays and find him down the field and the ability after the catch, he's just a confident, professional, business-like receiver who's got enormous talent. So Jackson Smith and Jigba, number 5 on the board. Keishan Butte from LSU is right there as well. But I think when you look at Jackson Smith and Jigba, is going to go very high, probably higher in the draft than Wilson went and Olave went.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.